Hello and welcome. This Curio Co series is on the things that you should know to be a professional artist in this crazy entertainment industry. Hi, I am C, and this is me drawing. I've been in the visual industry for over 25 years. I'm also a partner at Curio Co here in Vienna, where we create character stories and objects to entertain ourselves as well as our audiences. I hope that me sharing these lessons I've learned along the way can help you reach your own creative goals much faster. I thought today we could touch on the difference between knowing the theory and executing the theory. Remember, artistic execution matters. There is a big difference between knowing the theory and executing the theory. If we're talking about drawing, there's a big difference between the mark that you want to put down, again, the mark that you want to put down, and the mark that you have put down on the paper. Those two things are two completely different things. There's a saying, in theory, there is no difference between theory and practice, but in practice, there is. Let me explain exactly what I mean. You know what a circle is. You can recognize it. You've learned in school that is a series of points equidistant from a point, but can you draw it by hand? Well, you can easily tell me, yeah, well, you can draw a circle with a compass. Why should I draw it by hand? Well, let me come back to you by saying, there is a huge difference between drawing a circle mechanically and drawing it by hand. And that is exactly the difference in execution. This is exactly what I'm trying to get to. You can feel the difference if the circle is drawn by hand, even if it's all wonky. There's a difference in execution. You can feel the difference. Even a badly drawn circle, if it has been drawn with intent, will resonate more with us humans than a mechanically drawn one. I'm not saying that a mechanically drawn circle does not have a place or a function, but that the two are different from one another, that it differs with how it is perceived by your audiences. Again, execution matters. As visual artists, we're trying to connect with our audiences with our medium so that we can communicate our own ideas. A circle is hard to draw by hand. And this is exactly my point. Learning is built in two parts, the theory and the practice. You need both. Just one will not do. Theory by itself will not produce anything. After all, if you know color theory, but you never paint, you will never have an actual painting to show. The only thing that you could have is the idea of a painting, but nothing tangible that you can show somebody. Even though you can learn by doing, without theory, it will take you much longer. You will be forced to discover the theory along the way. Save yourself the time and do some research and investigating. Learn the theory first. Don't be afraid to ask questions about the subject that you're curious about. The worst that can happen is that they'll say, no, I will not help you, or simply ignore you. If that happens, then at least you're not worse off. I mean, you didn't know it before, you don't know it now, so that's okay. You actually learn that that person or that place is not a source of knowledge for you at this time. Make your life easier, learn the theory and practice it. You got to physically act it out so that your muscles and brain understand how it feels to make that knowledge real. You are binding the two into one with a meaningful mark on the paper. You got to know how to put down the mark that you want with the tool you chose. This is execution. You are delivering on intent. It takes years of practice to get good at something. With anything that you might do, whether you are a programmer or a doctor or an artist, like in your case. Execution can make or break an image. Can you imagine a Sistine Chapel painted with stick figures? I doubt it would have been commissioned if Michelangelo could only draw stick figures. Yes, the story could have been told with stick figures, but that execution makes us feel something different. For that project, the execution needed to be done with that visual intent. When learning execution, start with the basic, then build on it. Lay one brick at a time. First, you need to care for the mark that you're making on the paper. Each mark needs to have a reason. There are times when you will put marks on the paper for no reason. If that is your conscious decision, then you did your job. No choice is still a choice. A series of marks that have no particular reason other than to be there can spark your imagination. Those initial marks had an intent. That nonsense is reason rich. Just like a circle, you can practice to draw a straight line. This is a great skill to have. You'll be able to control where the line starts and where it ends. You can draw perspective lines and build realistic volumes just by being able to have good hand-eye coordination. Live drawing and any other observational drawing will be much easier because of this. The goal is to get that muscle memory good and strong so that you can allow yourself to focus on the more creative side of the drawing process. Good execution means that you understand the theory, that you understand it so intimately that it is second nature to you. It's easy to read something and say, got it, and move on. If you read it, you should understand, generically speaking, what you read. But do you understand its intent? Where the knowledge came from? Why is it there? Why it was to be shared with you? The subtleties. If the particular knowledge that you just read is of interest to you, then you should take the time to investigate and study it so that you can put it into practice. Implement that knowledge, execute it. As soon as you start understanding the minutiae of that knowledge, the execution will show a meaningful mark and it will start shining brightly, bringing something wonderful to your art. The execution is the first thing that grabs you in an art piece. When you look at the artists that you love, you will be able to see some elements that are grabbing your attention visually. That is the execution. That is the mastery of that knowledge that they researched and practiced, that is now shining through brightly, that you are enjoying. We've all done a double take, whether it was a girl or a boy. Their presentation, the way they're crafting their persona, the way they are, is all part of communicating a specific idea clearly. They are able to execute their vision of how they want the world to perceive them. They're executing their persona. That same care applies to a painting or a sculpture or a drawing. You want to be able to grab your audiences quickly. As humans, we have a short attention span. Nowadays, we have a maximum of 3 seconds to grab somebody's attention. Think about those ads that you see on social media and how quickly you decide if you are interested or not. As artists, we need to employ all the tools at our disposal to grab our audience's attention, to communicate our ideas. Learn to execute what you learn in theory. Don't underestimate its value. Doing will help you process your knowledge and take your work to the next level. You'll be able to bring that extra something that will make your audience have to stop and have a double take. In closing, learn to execute what you've learned in theory. Don't underestimate that practice. Doing will help you process your knowledge and take your art to the next level. You'll be able to bring that extra something that glitters and shines, and your audiences will have to stop for a double take. I hope these thoughts will be useful to your creative journey. Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, stay curious, keep learning, and stay creative. And obviously, keep drawing.